There are some cars that appeal to your heart and some that appeal to your head, and the Toyota Yaris has always been the latter. Previous incarnations have always delivered impeccable reliability, a generous warranty, good efficiency and strong value for money, but in doing so, things such as style, desirability and fun have fallen by the wayside. Toyota is hoping to change all of that with this fourth generation, with sensible boxes ticked for your head and a few ticked for your heart as well. Before we get started, here's your reminder to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and click the bell icon to turn on those notifications. You've got to think that the reason why most of the previous Yarises were seen as functional tools rather than fashion statements was probably down to the rather safe styling. Well, even amongst handsome competition, we feel this latest Yaris stands out a mile. The gaping grille and angled headlights give it some real visual aggression, and everywhere you look there's another interesting bulge or crease that catches the eye. The red and black two-tone paint job is specific to the highly spec'd launch edition car we've got here, but all Yaris models get smart alloy wheels and LED daytime running lights, and all but the entry-level car have the full LED lighting front and rear. While we're on the subject of trim levels, let's talk about the 5 things you need to know about the Toyota Yaris. Number 1, all versions come well equipped. That entry-level car is called the Icon and comes with automatic air conditioning, a reversing camera, a touchscreen infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Dynamic trim gives you sports seats, part leather upholstery and a push-button starter, and Excel trim adds some extra safety gear such as blind spot monitoring. While we're on the subject of safety, number 2, lots of clever driver assistance systems come as standard. These include adaptive cruise control, automatic braking, lane keeping assist and automatic high beam headlights. That's all helped the Yaris achieve the full 5-star rating in Euro NCAP crash tests. Number 3, if you're after a petrol or a diesel Yaris, then you're out of luck because they're only available in hybrid. A 1.5 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine is teamed with an electric motor and a continuously variable automatic transmission to deliver 114 brake horsepower. It can drive up to 80 miles per hour on electric-only power, and claimed average fuel economy stands at up to 68.9 miles per gallon. Number 4, we did fib a little bit on that last point because there is one Yaris that is not a hybrid, and that is the GR Hot Hatch. We haven't had the chance to try it yet, but with four-wheel drive, a bespoke 3-door body and 257 brake horsepower from its 1.6 litre turbocharged engine, we cannot wait to. Number 5, price of the Yaris. So the Icon starts at £20,000, which means it's not a cheap car, although that's maybe not quite so much of a surprise given that standard hybrid drivetrain and all of that equipment. Then this launch edition starts at about £24,000, just over, and that GR Hot Hatch, well, that's just under £30,000. How much practicality do you get for your money then? Well, boot space could be described as adequate. There's just about enough space to fit a lightweight small stroller or a weekly shop, but plenty of rivals do offer more. You've also got a load lip to contend with and a step on the floor when you fold the 60/40 split rear seats down, but you can level both off with a false boot floor. It's a similar story back here. Space is adequate for most people. I'm 5'4.5" and it's okay. If you're pushing 6 foot, you might find that headroom and legroom could be a little better. And then because these rear windows are so small, it does feel a little bit dark and dingy back here. Space up front is in far greater supply, thankfully, and there is plenty of adjustment in the seat. All models, the seats go up and down, and of course they go backwards and forwards. And then you've got reach and rake adjustment in the steering wheel, so you should be able to find a comfortable driving position. Now, because of the low slung dashboard and these thin pillars, visibility out of the front is fantastic. Those rear windows, however, and the pillars that separate them mean that visibility out of the back could be better. Thank goodness then for those standard reversing cameras. All versions except the entry-level one get what Toyota calls binocular instruments, with these 2 pod-like gauges placed either side of a digital display. The pod works fine, but the screen between them is small, so when you try and scroll through the various menus with this controller on the steering wheel, it's all very cluttered and hard to read. The central touchscreen isn't ideal either. The graphics are sharp and clear, but many of the menus aren't very elegantly arranged, so some features can be hard to find. And don't be fooled by this map button. When you press it, it says navigation is not available on your system, and that is standard across all of the Yarises. None of them have got a built-in sat-nav. That said, the built-in smartphone integration system means that you can use your phone sat-nav on the screen. On the quality front, everything feels as solid and as substantial as we've come to expect from Toyota, so the cabin feels like it should last a lifetime. There are some decent materials too, such as the rubberized covering on the top of the dashboard here, and we've got some gloss black panels, and the fabric inserts on the doors are also rather lovely. What's not quite so good is the leading edge of the dash, and if you look in some other places, there's some hard scratchy plastic, which is not quite so good and is a little bit hard and less appealing. Now, the first thing you need to be mindful of with the Yaris is the gear selector. In most automatics, you pull the gear selector down as far as it will go, and that will get you into drive, whereas with the Yaris, that actually selects B mode instead of D. That's a battery regeneration mode that basically works the petrol engine harder in order to quickly generate more electricity for the battery. So driving around in this mode under normal circumstances will damage both your economy and your refinement. Get your selection right, and the Yaris is a very relaxing car to drive. You don't have to change gear for starters, and the steering is light and responsive. And providing you're gentle and smooth with the accelerator pedal, most of the time you can roll around in electric mode. This makes trundling around town really quiet. All you really hear is the gentle rumble of the tyres on the tarmac, and that's about it. And even when the petrol engine is called upon for some help, it's quite quiet. You can hear a faint murmur from under the bonnet, and I really do mean faint. Then, when you apply the throttle pedal a little harder and a sudden burst of acceleration is required, the CVT transmission sends the revs towards the rev limiter, and they stay there until you ease off again. So while that does mean a lot more noise, it doesn't leave your ears ringing like hybrids of old. It's not painfully irritating, and the burst of acceleration is actually quite impressive. So it's relaxing and quiet most of the time, and it's good to know that you've got a little bit of pace if you need it. What isn't quite so relaxing, on the other hand, is the ride. The suspension feels decidedly firm, especially at low urban speeds, and you will feel more of the bumps in the road than you do in many rivals. It stops just short of being uncomfortable. I mean, you will be jiggled and jittered a bit more than you might expect. Although at motorway speeds, it does flatten out a bit, which is good, so that's a bit more comfortable for cruising. That said, at 70 miles an hour, you do get a bit of road noise, which is a little irritating, so not quite calm and tranquil. With this firmer ride comes some good handling. There's actually quite a lot of grip, and the car feels quite agile. It's not as impressive as a Ford Fiesta in this regard, but some fun can still be had. So, the Toyota Yaris is not the most comfortable or practical car of its type, but all that standard equipment, the efficient hybrid drivetrain, and the generous 100,000 mile 5-year warranty make it, well, satisfy the sensible side of the brain. Its sharp styling and agile handling give it a fun factor that it never had before. It's not cheap, but for those who buy it, will definitely feel it is worth the money. We'd love to know if you agree with our verdict on the Toyota Yaris, so please do tell us in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe as well. Why not browse our channel for more new and used car reviews, and to find a great deal from a top-rated dealer on your next car, head over to cargurus.co.uk.